Hello, good morning. I am waiting for my co-host, Elaine, to join me. We're talk about feelings.
How are you today? There we go.
I just shared that I feel like a bear. I'm sleepy and cold. But that's okay. I tell people all the time that we don't have to be the same versions of ourselves every single day. It's okay. We can be tired today. So let's be tired and comfy and a light conversation about deep feelings.
Compared back to the two is quite funny.
Let's begin with a little moment to ground. You can place your left hand. I do with the left hand is where we receive. So left hand on your heart. You receive your own beautiful heart energy and your right hand on your belly. And we will close our eyes and just take deep breath in through our nose. And in the exhale, I will wiggle your body down, like really get seated and grounded here, or whatever you're sitting on. And take another deep breath in through your nose. You'll really let it all out. And one more deep breath in through your nose, filling up all the air, going all the way into the belly. And slow exhale. And we here, and whenever you're ready, you can come back into the present moment. And we are going to begin. This is a mantra for this episode. Okay, everybody say it with that.
Just because you feel other people's way.
Me, near some fence today. Let's do it again. One,
Your confidence. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Just
one, you have other people's pain. Me, you need nothing.
Yes.
You guys get the point. You get the point. So, Elaine, where can we start in this very big conversation?
Yes. So just because we feel other people's pain doesn't mean we have to fix it. And beginning with, right, so much so today we're seeing so many people, especially in America, we're seeing so many people that are having these experiences where they're seeing other people's pain. They're seeing things happen that we haven't seen before. And it's leading us to want to either shut down or to attempt to fix everything, or attempt to overhelp or help in a way that might be self-sacrificing. And for me, one of the biggest tools in learning how to actually harness my empathy was like the boundary setting, learning that, yes, I might be like sensitive to other people's energies, but that doesn't mean I don't have to take that on. But like, how do I actually move through that? So I feel that we're moving from in society, collectively and individually, I feel we're moving from a place of survival and going into the heart. And moving from those spaces, we want to actually learn how to harness those energies of empathy, understanding, and compassion. But with our world, in what at least I've learned has been more being cold and getting things done. And either like Kat, your experience of wanting to help everybody as you were younger, or my experiences was really just to shut down and screw everybody else. So we have great polar opposites to dive into today. So that's super fun. And so what's your leading thought on this, Kat? Like where do you begin when you talk about being being empathic as an empowerment versus a curse?
So, yeah, first, just to touch on this, I tried both. I wanted to do both, right? Like, I wanted to try everything person. So initially, I realized from a very young age that I could feel other people's pain. I remember coming back to when I was 9. I mean, like, I could really I didn't call it sensitive, but I could feel connected to other people. And so, and fast forward a little bit, I went through about a 10-year phase where my heart was shut down and I was like, F everybody, I don't care. And then I realized, no, that's not quite it. And I just kept playing around with the dynamic and trying to figure out my place in it all. What do I do with this? And I still remember from a very long time ago that I was always wondering, I was always curious, what is this for? Why is this here? What the F do I do with this? Like, I know I knew it. I seemed to have a knowing from a young age. There has to be a reason for this. There has to be a purpose to deeply feel connected to other people. But what the F is it? Like, I don't know what to do with this. But I was told almost all my life by my dad, I seem sensitive. I would say, I don't know, correct myself. Like, oh, you're being too sensitive. Okay. And I carried that with me into life experiences and then internalize that, oh, I'm too sensitive. There's something wrong with me. And then you get into the rabbit hole of, I need to fix this. And so then it was just, I looked for all these things that I needed to fix. And I just really just kept piling up until I got to the point of learning how to fully accept myself. But through this journey and this process and really decades of getting to know myself and learning who I am in the world beyond growing up with parents, I was mad. I was so mad for a long time. Like, why is this here? And to be honest, I really didn't discover why it was here until just a couple of years ago. And now, of course, I'm in a place where I can help others through their big feelings too. But it's funny because I seem to work with people that are empathetic or have high levels of empathy. And so I really fully am able to understand that they're sensitive to the things that are going on around them. But that's our experience. And not every single person has that deep sensitivity to others and what other people are going through. When I first started exploring what this is all about, I went to the extreme of wanting to save everyone around me. And that's what I thought was the right thing to do. Until I discovered that no, I'm worth saving and I need to save myself first. So then I took a huge step back from wanting to fix everyone and help everyone around me. And then I went inward and focused on myself. And that's when I was able to learn how to harness the superpower. But until that point, I was so mad. Like, why we had this? And I am somebody that's like, there has to be a deeper reason for this. And I'm grateful for that characteristic because it allows me to explore and discover things until I understand. And that's what I love to do. That's what it's.
That's a beautiful process and journey, and you took us through it so well. And definitely is very reflective in parallel to the experiences that I have also encountered. So, and I think I've shared before, empathy to me, right? I didn't have the words back then, but what I do know is that I was sensitive to other people's pain. And I was always an observer. I was very quiet, and I was surrounded by death and lost at a really young age. And so I didn't want to, I didn't know what to do. There was like an overwhelm of that. And so I shut down in those spaces. Like I would just watch, I wouldn't speak because I didn't want to rock the boat or put any more burden onto my mom or grandma. And that is how I learned to live was like, I'm just not going to say anything because I don't want to hurt anybody anymore. And so the transition from this and shutting myself out and shutting my sensitivities and the deeply empathic abilities that I have went from shutting down emotionally to what addiction, because I was so sensitive, not because I was so sensitive, because I didn't know how to work with my sensitivities is why I opted at that time to use substances as a way to that I perceived to block those sensitivities out. And I feel so the transition from shutting down emotionally then led to being immersed in the addictive lifestyle. But the addictive lifestyle wasn't always just substances because I then was also addicted to like the opposite side, then helping people or taking people codependency, right? Because I feel for me, empathy also goes into relationships where I recognized other people's pain within my romantic relationships. And I could see like the tenderheartedness within them and stay in these toxic relationships because I could feel the softness and their pain. And yet I didn't know how to manage that. So not only was it me shutting down the depth of my empathy and my sensitivities with substances, but it then was also consumed by people, right? Because I then became more concerned with other people's pain than my own at that time. And it was a beautiful distraction for a while. It was until it wasn't. The transition came when I recognized most of the times it's taken my body to tell me. So, like, I would get sick, like, I would physically shut down. And coming into the healing aspect of things and recognizing, like, hey, m- many people can feel the depth of this. This is a beautiful thing. And, like you were saying, Kat, that there's a purpose to it, there's a reason why I had the level of empathy that I do. And so, how can I be strong in myself while not being enmeshed in the other? How can I learn to harness all of the depth of me, of being Elaine, while also honoring other people's process without becoming like the savior or without becoming feeling like I have to allow people their own process. And that again, then I had to step back from society, actually step back from all of my friends and all of the group settings to really learn about Elaine and do that inward work, that journey. Okay, what are boundaries? Why are boundaries helpful? And why is saying no so important when I'm learning to really discern what is for me and what is not for me? So it took me to quiet my mind, still my body, and to know that I am safe to regulate the emotions because I feel that was also a huge first step was having the tools to regulate the emotions, right? So I know you and we work with people and giving them the tools to help manage the emotions so they'll be able to harness the empathy that they feel. Yeah, this complex idea of what empathy is or is not, being again, and coming back to the core at the beginning, being able to feel other people's pain, it is a gift if we use it for a gift, right? It allows us to be with people in their pain, not to fix it. And that's what I've learned. Like, I don't have to be uncomfortable while other people are sharing their experiences. I can allow them their experience and hold that space and not take on their emotions and not take on their pain. And I found that to be one of the most empowering things that I can do because I can manage all of my emotions and discern what's mine and what's not mine. May I ask, and I'm curious, how would you define, or you talked about, so what do you see the purpose is of having empathy now? Like, how do you, because I was like attempting to define this in my mind. Okay, what is the empowerment? What is the purpose behind that? I'm just curious, like, what for that?
I love your nails, by the way.
Yes.
And both on. So where I am now, I fully understand and am grateful that I can serve others with this gift. It really gets pretty simple. I can resonate with other people's pain. I can feel it even sometimes in my own body. I can feel where it's showing up. And through that experience, I can help them move through it. And this isn't something that was ever taught to us growing up, right? And society doesn't give us the manual for how to do this. But the thing is that a lot that everybody going through something and during certain different phases and transitions in life, we get stuck in certain areas of our pain. And so a lot of people just live with it because, first of all, it's not bad enough to change. And secondly, because they don't know what to do with it or where to start. And
Yeah.
so when someone comes to like me or you, for example, and we can find the root of the pain and help them actually truly process it, move through it. Because holding pain brings up different symptoms mentally and emotionally and even physically sometimes. But when we can move through the pain, a lot of times the people that go to the doctors to treat their symptoms or illnesses are just holding pain, really. And we can help them move through that and release it. And then crazy, their symptoms subside. And sometimes they're like, oh, wow, I didn't need to be on that medication for as long as it was. But it's not really honed in on because we live in such a fast paced world and society, right? It's just, oh, I have this pain, but I gotta go to work. Can't, I don't know. I'm busy. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And we get so wrapped up. And I'm pretty sure we touch on this every episode because it's so relevant. We get so caught up in the things we have to do. A lot of people don't pay attention to these subtle energies and things that are going on underneath the surface. But this is really where the magic is. Addressing these things beneath the surface is what helps our outer world run better. It helps us function optimally when we address the things that are underneath the surface. So I love the world that we're in now. I didn't understand it for a long time, but now I love it. Oh,
This is Midnight. She wanted to say hi. I yeah, I agree. I love there's so much that you said that is very it's so I feel in what I see, and I guess I can only speak to myself, but I'm gonna speak to the observation of a higher perspective. How I perceive people who are empathic are naturally are here because they the ability to be able to feel other people's sensitivities and pain is part of where I feel we're moving as a society to be able to slow down the sensitivities, the subtle energies in life, and moving from the idea, again, from survival to the emotional fulfillment. And us as em- empathic and sensitive people are pioneering a new way. So I do feel that we have a natural inclination to want to help people. And so the purpose, again, like you stated, when you're working with people, you can get to the root cause. And that's, yeah, the same for me. It definitely shows up physically when I'm working with people. But when we are able to take the empowerment and use it as a compass, not an embodiment, we we are able to be in a space to be able to be an example of how to move through the strong emotions and how to regulate and ground and to do all those things. So I have found purpose behind those and the idea of wanting to be the embodiment or the leading example of what that looks like. But I really needed to do that for myself first many different capacities. Because, yeah, I really do feel that we are pioneering a new way. Like you had brought in our society, it's such a fast paced society. And look at where we are. It's like self destructing right now, which is okay. There's nothing. there's also creation from destruction. It's however, like learning to do things differently. And so for us, like doing things differently was slowing down, was teaching myself what the emotional aspect was telling me within my body and within my knowing. And that takes a lot of practice. It takes also just practice, but practices like tools that we practice. So meditation, yoga, slowing down, being still, going in nature, not talking, just not silencing yourself, but just being quiet to receive versus to do, which we took a lot. Yeah, it's very fascinating. I guess, what would you say would be your do you have a breakdown of what so when you are leading the people that you work with to learn how to work with empathy or learn how to draw boundaries, do you have a framework? First, we must calm the mind, ground ourselves. Do you have a framework? I'm curious.
Yeah. So a lot of times the people that come to me are they're stuck in the phase of being hypersensitive. And that was a life-changing word that I discovered, years ago. Then I was like, oh wow, that's what I am. Because I was in that phase at one point too. And when I was deeply healing my trauma, it all came out at one time because a part of me wanted to open up. And along with that, not blocking off my own emotions or shutting down or avoiding them in any way. I was hypersensitive. I was crying a lot. And I was ashamed of it because why am I crying all the time? The pain has to come out of us. It's not meant to stay in us forever. And having gone through that process myself, you don't get to a phase where you're not crying all the time over little things, but you have to slowly, thematically, mentally, emotionally move it out of your body. And talking alone did not do that. And so when I'm first working with people, I'm helping them move through the phase of being hypersensitive, being a little bit more comfortable in it. It's okay. It's part of it. And you gotta kind of get in it. Like the people that have the most success quickly are the ones that are like all in the process. They might not fully understand what the process is, but they're all in and they trust me to lead them through it, not just because I've been there, but because I can intuitively hold space for them in a safe place that that facilitates healing, right? And so somebody move through the very sensitive part of the emotional process. I mean, that does come to a shift. I've noticed around 5 or 6 weeks on average that somebody starts to get a little bit more grounded, a little bit less. It's just these subtle shifts, but they all add up to make big changes in our lives and bring forth new versions of ourselves. And just the other day, one of my clients messaged me, "I'm doing so much better. I'm not as emotional." And people are not as comfortable maybe with emotions as you or I, but the point is that she's feeling better because it doesn't last forever. You don't have to stay there forever, but you have to be able to work through it. And so getting through, working through, truly processing the emotions and being more comfortable with them, I would say is the foundation, the framework. And then I shift and move more towards, and everybody's different, so I adjust accordingly, but more towards the yoga and getting your body to move a little bit, feeling where things are in your body, getting to know yourself on a new level because people think themselves are their name. And no, there's a lot more to you than just your name. So some self-discovery, definitely mindset work in there too, to help you have a more wholesome outlook on yourself and your life and your place in the world. And that leads into identity reframing, really. And helping you to understand, yeah, at one point, years ago, you were that person, right? And you had these dreams and these visions for yourself. And that's not quite how it turned out. And that's okay. But let's now come back to understand that we're here now. And so letting go of those old pictures of what we thought life was going to be like, I find is very common. It's a very common step in the process. And once we're able to let go of that, then people are like, oh wow, there's it's a whole new reality. And that's really where we're aiming to get people, right? Is into where they are now, self-acceptance, true self-love, and being able to be comfortable with how to move through their emotions. What do you say about your process, like outline? I know it's not black and white, right? It's we're working in the gray, but
Yeah. So and like you said, everybody is different. So I guess it's first, and a lot of the people that I work with still hold a lot of the trauma in their body and are, like you said, they're hypersensitive. So is mainly first bringing it back to the breath and to the body to be able to distinguish where in our body we're actually feeling that, and to getting to know, like for me, getting to know my body was like the crucial step in understanding how to work through the emotions. So always bringing it to, okay, what are you sensing and where? And being able to bring it back to a grounded state, and then being able to sit in the discomfort. Because, like you said, like that's where the growth happens, not necessarily in the space between the action. The action is only the uh, it's the consequence of what the growth has been, because we can take different actions once we're able to make different internal shifts that we don't necessarily see. So, getting into the body, breath work, recognizing what the body is actually feeling, and then being able to sit with the body, move through that with yoga or whatever type of physical movement feels appropriate for the person. But then, as we're able to actually get more comfortable with the uncomfortable, then being able to actually identify what our voice of the inner critic is saying. So I'm a big fan of writing. And so, if we were to just take a look at, like, in a day, what do we tell ourselves? We can see how much we identify to other people's stories. And that was huge for me, because I was like, wait, like everything that think I was feeling is actually because of what I think other people are doing or not doing. And so I was then able to get to the core of myself and see where my story, my part, personal accountability, which a lot of people don't like to hear. When I was able to take personal accountability then. And so when working with others, the inner critic, writing those things out, seeing where I have projected and put my energy outward onto people versus bringing it inward, and then going through and recognizing the emotions behind each projection. And how do we always bring it back to self? So doing like mirror reflections, but with all of those things, like bringing it to the body. A big part of, for me and for the people that I work with, is actually disconnecting from, and I don't know it's where the person is at, but I highly suggest starting to move through like stillness and silence to be able to learn more about what that is, right? Because how can I identify about myself if I'm continually merging myself with the person?
yeah, I can treat now. Yeah, and believe it or not, the way that I do now a lot of quiet setting, okay? So we lot them all day. Yeah, it's a very important piece of self-discovery, getting to know yourself in a different way, being with yourself. A lot of people, I feel, a lot of people are moving their life may think that they're with themselves, but they're really just with their mind. And don't forget that we are mind, body, and soul. And so we really need to tend to all of these areas of ourselves in order to feel whole, which is really what everybody's going for, right? Whether you are whether you are feeling your trauma or you're maybe through a divorce or you are raising kids with co-parenting, I run into this a lot, raising kids with co-parent narcissists, like all of these things are important to, it's important to tend to all areas of yourself to move through these different dynamics in life, right?
100%, all of it. Yeah, we all strive for happiness, right? That's what we're all aiming for. Fulfillment. Yeah, I love it. It's such, with all of our topics, right? They're all could go so in depth, but they're great starting point for conversation starters, but also to show other people how we work with other people and that we are here to support others because we have lived through and guided ourselves and we're self-initiators and self-taught and we're the embodiment of what we speak to. If you are looking, this is for the audience, an invitation for the audience. If you are looking to harness your empathy for empowerment, you reach out to Kat or I, and we have amazing tools to help integrate that and bring those into your life to feel the fulfillment and the wholeness that you seeking, looking for.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful process, and it does take very brave souls to do this, right? I can very gratefully say that all my clients are they're very courageous, really, because it takes a courageous person to look in the mirror and say, I'm really not happy with how things are going or how they turned out. And then to look for the support, right? And to be able to put those things together and get to a different place in life, that it takes courage to do that. And so really honor people that reach out for support and are able to actually receive.
Yeah, I that word finishing. Yes, to reaching out for guidance and support. And the first step, yes, is being brave in receiving those things. So, Brian, I am curious, Kat. Okay, I do want to. Brian asked an interesting question. Do we want to? Do you have time?
Yeah. I can read it.
Okay. So, Brian asked, where would premonitions come into play with all of that? I'm just gonna touch on this. So I find this to be interesting. And while I do feel that sensitivities and empathy does allow us to tap into those subtle energies, I also feel that this is premonitions might be more, it definitely could be tapping into a different quantum field, right? But also it could be tapping into other people's timelines, if that makes sense. But premonitions and empathy, while they both from sensitivities, I feel it's different sensitivities. Kat, what is your perception on this?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that might be a good, really good for a side conversation.
So,
Thank you for asking that.
yeah, I do love that question for sure because it feels intertwined to some degree. So, I'm going to pull a card from the Empath Empowerment deck since we are on this because I love it so much and it's super short and sweet. So we will see what comes up for us. Yeah, and then we will close out with this card. Be a comfort to yourself.
Oh,
Comfort in yeah, okay. I'm gonna comfort is an inside job. Speak to yourself in a loving, positive way. Do something that nourishes. In this moment, all is well. Perfect. Simple and profound.
yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And we are looking forward to hearing your stories about moving from why the F is empathy part of me to feeling more empowered with it because it is such a beautiful thing if you know what to do with it. Yeah,
Thanks,
you and me.
yes,
See you
thank you,
soon.
everybody. See you next week.